I came in with a saw. Ooh, yeah, I came in with a saw. Yeah.
My name is Pyron. I also go by the name Kitta, and I'm the coach for XL2. When I was 17, I signed up for the Marine Corps. I was in the service for about 6 years, 8 total. I worked on helicopters. I was an avionics technician. That unit unfortunately shut down, so I got moved to another unit, and from there I became a civil affairs specialist. Boot camp was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done. When my recruiter pulled me out of the house at 4 in the morning, I didn't have time to say bye to my family, and he was just like, all right, you're going, it's time. And I remember getting on the bus, and there were a lot of people with me, and we weren't allowed to look. We had to put our heads down. The next thing I remember were drill instructors. They started getting onto the bus and started screaming, and we had to be guided when to brush our teeth, when to go to the bathroom, how to tie our shoes. It taught you to really push through and to keep going. And no matter how hard everything is, pain is only temporary. After the Marines, I got into motorcycle racing, so I was a motorcycle road racer. I did this for about 3 years. Some of the speeds I was going about 160. A lot of the times through the banks and corners, I would probably hit about 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. It tests all the aspects of judgment, agility, and stamina. And any minor mistake that you make can cost you your life. And I love that danger. I love that challenge of it. You know, it's so fast-paced that you don't really have time to think about it. Once you're in the bike, if you take a second to even think about how scared you are, that's when everything can go bad. The biggest thing I took away from motorcycle racing was confidence. It made me realize that the fears that I have in life, the struggles that I had in life, whether getting a job or whether asking somebody out, it was so minor compared to the scale that I had when I was racing motorcycles. The most badass thing I did was, I remember it was my second month racing, and I did a track day. It was just like a practice day for racing prior to the races. And I remember I was at Willow Springs, Straits of Willow, and I asked the guys if I could move from C group to A group. And C group is the slowest group, and then A group is the advanced group. And they looked at me and they laughed. And they're like, you know what, we have to follow you around first and see if you're equipped to go in A group. So I was like, okay. And I got on the bike, and I remember I passed every single one of them up. And when I got off the bike, I was like, okay, am I ready to go in A group? And the guy was just like, holy shit, I couldn't even keep up with you. Yeah, you belong in A group. So a little bit of background with my family. They've always seen or depicted women as to have a natural job, to be submissive to men, and just to have a easygoing type of job, lifestyle, looking pretty. I wanted to step outside that zone because I've always had this drive for competition. Overwatch gave me the ability to be in a male-dominant sport and showcase that women can acquire these attributes and compete, if not just as good, if not better, than the rest of the guys. I mean, my experience in esports, it doesn't have a structure. I want to be able to make fast decisions on the fly and to be able to effectively communicate and motivate people and carry people through a lot of the mental pressure that they're under when they're in a gaming tournament. I remember when I stayed up all night prior to a tournament that we had to play in. It was strategizing against a team that was deemed like unbeatable, and I exposed a weakness. And I remember during the tournament, the final tournament, I told one of my players to just focus on, zone into one player. And I remember the time when the timer went down and we won the last point. I was screaming, the whole team was screaming, and it was the most like victorious moment ever. And I knew that everything that I've done was actually valid and I knew what I was doing. I hope to be the most dominant team in contenders, but not only in contenders, but I want to be able to be the most dominant team and the most feared team even in Overwatch League. Thanks for watching.